Hey everyone, welcome back to the Tweaktown channel. I'm Derek Strickland, Tweaktown's gaming news editor. Today we're going to be talking about Warzone, and more specifically why it's the most important thing Activision Blizzard has ever done. Warzone is huge. It has the potential to radically transform Activision Blizzard's business model. But why is that? We're going to be going over those details today, but let's talk about how Warzone is already making a big splash. Right now, Warzone is not only monetizing, it is boosting full game sales of Modern Warfare. Essentially, Activision Blizzard has created a free-to-play, live service game that not only generates revenue through microtransactions, but it also sparks full game sales. The only other place we've really seen something like this is Game Pass. In very real sense, Activision Blizzard has made their own virtual Game Pass video game. Before we talk too much about Warzone though, we have to understand two main components: how engagement works, and Activision Blizzard's new 4-part plan, which is essentially dramatically changing everything for the publisher. Activision Blizzard are masters of monetization. They have engagement and live services down to a science. That's why they're the second most profitable games industry publisher in the entire market. Activision Blizzard routinely makes multiple billions of dollars every year from live service games. In Q1 20 alone, Activision Blizzard raked in $956 million from live services. They know what they're doing, and Warzone pushes this knowledge to a new level. If they're the scientists, Warzone is the experiment, and it's paying off big. So let's take a look at engagement. Engagement is the foundation for Activision Blizzard's business model. It is the most important thing the company thrives off of. It's basically the bedrock to their billion-dollar earnings. Without engagement, Activision Blizzard is nothing. Activision pretty much only cares about one thing: live services and monetization. Its games are built off of these two main components, and you see that with every single game they release. It has some sort of online component, online hook, and more importantly, some way to spend money within the game, whether it's frivolous small things like cosmetics or macro monetization like expansions. So first off, in the 5-part cycle, we have fun. A game cannot be engaging if it's not fun. And if a game is not engaging, it cannot be properly monetized. There's a set structure that all companies must follow. If you don't follow the structure, your live service game will fail. It will stagnate, and it will crumble, and it will fail. Now, fun is one of the most important things, if not the most important thing, because if a game isn't fun, no one's going to play it. If no one plays it, no one's going to spend money on it. You have to make it fun. Activision Blizzard is adept at making their games fun. Say what you will about Call of Duty, the gunplay is pretty damn good. There's a reason why so many people keep coming back to it year after year, time after time, and keep spending millions and millions and millions of dollars, because the games are fun. Next up, we have social hooks. Fun is just the beginning though. You have to have social hooks to make a properly engaging game. Social hooks examples are pretty much like invites, interactions, creating an social atmosphere where players can come together and play against each other and also compete and play co-op. They can join up, they can make rivalries, they can make friendships, they can make memories. And as they create their own kind of social knit communities within the game, that creates an environment where they'll keep coming back, they'll keep returning because they have like a cemented social interactions. Once players create friendships, they're more stuck to the environment, and that's exactly where these companies want you. They want you stuck. They want you coming back for more and more and more, because the more you play, the more opportunities there are to monetize you. In short, the more you play, the more likely you are to pay in the long term. Next up, we have progression, and this feeds directly into every other component. It comes really off of social hooks, because once you create the fun atmosphere and the social hooks, you have to create some way to keep people playing over and over and over time. This is the trickiest part about a live service game. It really is. There's a fine line between progression. You can't have a game that's too rewarding, but you can't have a game that's too restrictive. You have to give players enough stuff over time to where they want to continue playing, where there's a sense of progression. Whether that's facilitated with unlocks, weapon unlocks, cosmetics, things to customize your character, or level ups, or all of the above, which Call of Duty does and has been doing for forever. Activision Blizzard is adept at the social hooks and the progression systems of Call of Duty. They have really refined this to a science. That's one of the reasons why this is so successful as a live service game. So pretty much you have to have the environment where everyone can unlock things, but you can't give them too much because you want them to continue playing. So you create a never-ending cycle of content and available progression systems. That's why the Battle Pass system is so huge. The seasonal content system is so huge because it doesn't end. You just keep going. After you unlock everything, a new season comes up and boom, you have new stuff. That brings us right into content. No live service game can function without content. Once you have social hooks and progression established and fun, you have to have content. If you don't serve up new content, people will stop playing, they'll move on to other things. Live service games live and die on their content offerings. If the content isn't right, isn't readily available, or isn't pretty much what people want, they're going to stop playing. And then when they stop playing, they stop paying. Ruins the entire cycle. Activision Blizzard listens to its community, they roll out content, they'll change things. The content is a new opportunity to not only release new stuff, but it's the opportunity to pretty much mold the game, shape it, change it. Roll out a patch that nerfs a specific gun or a specific perk, and boom, all of a sudden you have a new playing field, a new meta, a new game. That kind of fresh progression is the most important thing for live service games, insofar as the continued life cycle. All of these games will completely die if there's no new content. That brings us to the most important aspect, monetization. Now I would argue that this is the entire reason why the entire structure exists. Why anyone makes a live game is to monetize it. That's the entire purpose for its existence. So how does monetization really work? Well, usually there's two parts to monetization. There's microtransactions, which are pretty much cosmetics, loot boxes. Everybody knows what microtransactions are. They've been pretty heavily demonized, and for good reason. Then we have macro monetization, which is more of an example of the Battle Pass system. You're paying money for one set fee for like a block of content versus small tidbits. And it also includes expansions and paid DLC, like single player things like that. So monetization is the core framework of Activision Blizzard's business model. Every game they make is built around this engagement cycle. It's built around monetization in particular. Every single game they make will have some sort of way to pay money in game to unlock new stuff. Okay, next up, let's go over Activision Blizzard's new 4-part business strategy. This will be a little bit brief, but it's very important. It's extremely important. This pretty much lays out what Activision Blizzard is going to do. Once we know the engagement cycle, we take a look at this 4-part plan, and we can piece together an entire framework of their future moves. And it's not hard to do. They've been very, very predictable over the past years. However, Warzone is an outlier. It's worth mentioning this 4-part plan only exists because Activision cut nearly 800 jobs back in 2018. This was during a record year of $7.5 billion in earnings. They cut the jobs so they could reallocate 20% more revenues for their R&D teams to power this plan. They've been ramping up infrastructures to host live services over time now, and we've seen them facilitate this with a big new partnership with Google to not only host multiplayer games, but pretty much they've signed a deal with Google to use their AI for advertising. And I think we're going to see targeted advertisements and targeted microtransaction suggestion systems within Warzone soon enough. That's a topic for another day. So let's talk about the 4-part plan. The first part is making new games. It's pretty self-explanatory. The thing that's interesting about Activision Blizzard games is they are all live service hooks. So pretty much you don't just buy the game and you're done. You complete it and you move on. These are games that are designed to be played for years and years, designed to be updated. They are created in such a way where there's a cyclic fashion like the engagement cycle. There's also multiple roadmaps, multiple backup plans, multiple contingencies, multiple roads where the games can just branch off. They plan all this stuff out so you basically continue playing and paying over time. It's really interesting to note that making new games is only 1/4 of the business model. The other 3 parts are really centered around live ops and monetization. Next we have live ops, which is what we just went over, live services. The infrastructure to house and to power all of these online driven games. Basically what this means is Activision Blizzard is reinvesting in more servers, more teams to maintain these kinds of games. That's all that means. There's really not a lot of innovation insofar as the live operations at the core framework. The real innovation comes from the new engagement models. So number 3 is expansion onto mobile. That's not too exciting to me. I don't think that's really exciting to most people. But it's exciting to Blizzard because it's yet another entry point. The most potent thing about Warzone is that it is a free, accessible entry point to the Call of Duty franchise. Anybody can download it, anybody can play it, they don't have to spend anything. Mobile represents the same thing, only on a more accessible level. everyone has a phone, and the mobile gaming market is absolutely huge. Mobile gaming is responsible for the lion's share of the $120 billion games market. Next, we have new engagement models, and here is where Warzone shines. The most interesting part about Warzone, it is the culmination of everything Activision has ever learned in its decades of monetization, decades of making games. It is the pinnacle of Activision Blizzard's knowledge. The new engagement models are facilitated with a few things. Crossplay is a big one. Crossplay is another layer to the engagement cycle. It is the glue that holds everything together, and it's a new exciting frontier, and I fully expect every single Activision Blizzard game released later on, now and later on, to fully utilize crossplay in whole new levels. I actually think Warzone will be a foundational movement for other franchises too. So why is this so important for Warzone? Why is this so important for Activision? Pretty much you give players an access to more players. That creates more engagement. You create a wider pool, a wider net of fish, you catch more fish. That's pretty much the thought process here. So crossplay is instrumental in this new movement. It's instrumental in Warzone. It's instrumental in the foundation for everything Activision Blizzard will do and they have done. The really exciting part about Warzone is how it uses this new engagement model and evolves it to a new level. It's not just crossplay, but cross-SKU. Warzone is found in Modern Warfare. It's baked right in. If you own the premium version of Modern Warfare, all you have to do is start it up and you can jump right into Warzone and start playing crossplay with other people. So that adds yet another layer to the foundation. We have crossplay, cross-SKU, now we have cross-progression. With all of these things combined, these three components, Warzone is a powerhouse that pretty much takes all of the best things, the best money-making, most lucrative aspects of the games industry into one cohesive, standalone, accessible, free-to-play package that's monetized. You couldn't ask for a more perfect storm of engagement. You can play Warzone free to play. Your progression carries right over to Modern Warfare should you choose to buy it. That is so potent. That is such a strong mechanism for engagement. Giving players the opportunity to continue their experience irregardless of platform is a hallmark of engagement, and it's a hallmark of Activision Blizzard's exciting new model. Okay, so let's talk about why this is important. We've talked about the foundations, the aspects, the strategies. How does this translate into actual money? Well, essentially what Warzone is doing is it's making money via microtransactions, in-game purchases, battle pass systems, and it's also sparking full sales of Modern Warfare. Activision confirmed that Modern Warfare is the best performing Q1 Call of Duty of all time, and that's in no small part due to Warzone. Warzone is accelerating Modern Warfare purchases, and it's also accelerating monetization. In short, Activision's plan is working like a charm. The correct way to think about Warzone is a connective tissue that connects the franchise together. It's the glue. It's an entry point that anybody can access, and it's going to live alongside all future Call of Duty games. Essentially, Warzone runs parallel to and connects with all future Call of Duty games. Activision has confirmed that Warzone will connect to Black Ops 5 or whatever it's called, the Vietnam-based game that's coming in 2020. So what does that mean on the business level? Pretty much all of the things we've outlined today. Warzone will continue receiving updates. It will continue making money over time. And as it makes money and receives updates, the engagement will boost. And as engagement boosts, players will kind of branch off into the premium game sector. Even if they stay in Warzone, the game will be accretive over time via monetization. Activision pretty much can't lose unless they flounder somehow, unless they just stop rolling out updates. Warzone is the perfect framework. It's future-proof for all future Call of Duty games. It's future-proof for future platforms, obviously, but that pretty much outlines the potential for Warzone. It is one of the most potent mechanisms in gaming today, and I would not be surprised if we see EA follow it with Apex Legends. We might see a premium Apex Legends launch. Now, what's interesting to note is Epic Games and EA have tried to sell premium SKUs of their free-to-play game. You know, you buy the Fortnite collection in the store, it comes with skins and whatnot. But this is something completely different. These are two things that run in parallel with each other, but also make money over time and connect with each other down the road. Knowing what we now know about the engagement cycle, about Activision's 4-part plan, and about how Warzone is cross-progression, cross-play, and cross-SKU, we can take all of these things together and meld them together and have an understanding of what's to come. and more importantly, what it means for Activision Blizzard and its future games. All future Call of Duty games should be built with Warzone in mind, and likewise, Warzone's future updates should be built around the new premium games. It's a kind of cross synergy, and it fundamentally changes how Activision Blizzard not only makes its games, but how it operates them over time. In summary, Warzone is the most important thing Activision has ever done because it combines everything Activision has done so far. It combines all of the most potent, lucrative, and important aspects of the live service industry as we know it today. These components include cross-play, cross-progression, and the newly innovated cross-SKU model that I expect to see many more publishers embrace in the coming months and years ahead. Call of Duty Warzone is the perfect live service game. It acts like a subscription, but also is a free-to-play, engaging experience in its own right. But it connects directly to the premium Call of Duty model. And it's that connection that's the real magic of Warzone. Cross-progression means everyone can switch back and forth. And the cross-play mechanism, the easy access, actually promotes full game sales. The effect is something that I call the Warzone Effect. And it's something that will affect Activision Blizzard for a long time. But that about wraps things up, guys. I hope you liked the business explanation. We're going to be rolling out some more content like this. I really like the idea of talking about the business and engagement models and things like that, so you know what to expect. It's not going to be surprising when there's more live services, but more importantly, things like Warzone just won't come out of nowhere. If you like this content, be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.